Hello, my lovely, and welcome to another episode brought to you by me, Annie Eclectic, and the Glimmer Seekers. I'm making this face and this noise because uh, I've just filmed 4 episodes. I've got up, I've done exactly the thing that I said that I was going to in the previous episode. I got distracted. Um, I've come back and my laptop is making the most crazy noises, which is making me feel a bit panicky, but I know it's just doing stuff. But I'm worried that you can hear it, and that's really upsetting. And the cat has just walked all over the setup. So I was about to get going and everything started wobbling all over the place. Um so yes, hi, hello. How are you? Welcome back to another episode of the Glimmer Seekers podcast. What's your glimmer? I am your host, Annie Eclectic. I am a mummy of a child with a difference. I have 2 passion businesses, one of which is the Glimmer Seekers and the Glimmer Seekers Collective Membership, where we focus on bringing our shine through in our passion businesses using natural energies and looking at all the fantastic ways that we can elicit the happiness within our own hormone sets within our businesses to draw in our community and tribes to our passion businesses, I suppose. So yeah, still not quite got a hang of this intro thing, still keeping it raw, real, as unedited as possible. I will edit out things like sneezes because you don't need to edit that. But I do like to keep things as raw as possible so that you know that we are not all glitch monsters on the internet. So you're not going to see me doing this a lot where I'm cutting out all my ums and ahs. And if that's a problem, probably not the podcast for you. Hopefully, it just kind of feels a bit like you've got a friend talking in your ear a little bit. And that does seem to be kind of the general consensus that people have said to me, actually, when we've talked about the podcast, and I've actively been asking people what they think, and like pretty much everyone has just said that actually they really like the fact that it's so unedited. They like the fact that I'm not jump cutting, that I'm not changing the background between each sentence or the colors of the lighting, that I am allowing myself to just be me. And to those people, I'm so unbelievably appreciative of you for listen stroke watching, and B, if I said A, I don't know if I said A, thank you for listening, and B, thank you so much for talking to me about it, and thank you for being honest about it as well. Like, so far it has mainly been compliments, which is absolutely wonderful, but I do want to make sure that there is feedback as well. We don't use the word criticism in this space. It's a safe space. Criticism is feedback is lovely. Let's not trigger RSD. That's not a good thing to do. And feedback tends to be brought more with kindness. So, for example, feedback would be what I discussed in the previous episode, where my friend told me to stop apologizing for communicating by saying that I was rambling. That was positive feedback. And actually, I'm not going to apologize for that because that is simply who I am. I've noticed it, I'm working on it, much the same as I'm sure that you have noticed things and you are working on things within yourself. I give myself the grace to say, is a thing. I'm trying to work on it and I'm trying to make those changes. But if it happens, I'm probably not going to edit it out because we do want to keep things nice and raw and real. And I hadn't actually intended to talk about this on this episode. In fact, I didn't even know what I was going to talk about in this episode. You may have noticed I have a tendency to do that. I don't have a plan particularly. In fact, I've just looked at my screen and I've got a list of colours and their meanings so clearly. 5 minutes ago, me decided we were going to talk about colors and what and bringing colors into your branding, etc. But that's not happened, so I'll have to save that for the next episode. So that's good. That means that I know what I'm doing next for the next week's episode. That's fantastic. But I don't like to plan. It just doesn't work for me. There's something in my brain that tells me that once if I do a script, or if I do a plan, which is quite a difficult thing for me, I don't have like a lot of time. So I spend a lot of my time is being a full-time mum because my kid goes to nursery for a morning, maybe two. And then he gets ill and he has to stay at home and he needs that kind of that care. And that's my job. I have lots of jobs. Two of them are businesses. And part of one of those businesses is doing this podcast. And when I set out to do this, I actively said to myself, I'm not going to do scripts. I'm going to allow myself to flow because that's the way that I work best. And I know myself and I know that's the way I work best. And I know that if I write a script, two things will happen. One, my brain will assume that I have already done it, which is a little bit wild to say. I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but this is definitely something that happens. I have so many half-finished things because I've already started. I've done it in my head, therefore it is done in reality. How many times I've thought I've messaged somebody back, messaged them in my head, and it's not actually translated into real life. It would be really, really cool to be able to just like ping a thought to somebody without having to actively do anything. I mean, we're pretty close with having voice notes, so I'll accept that as a replacement until we do actually get ourselves onto that transcendental wavelength. But I know if I write a script, there won't be an episode. And I also know that if I write a script, it doesn't feel like, how do I explain this? It doesn't feel like authentic. Is that the word? And I mean authentic in the actual real sense of being authentic and as in just being myself. And by free flowing an episode and jumping into it like this, that's the only way that I can be authentic. It's the only way that I can be me because I am speaking from my heart. I'm not planning anything. And when it feels like if I'm planning something that feels inauthentic, even though it's come from me, how bizarre is that? It's pretty bizarre. Does anybody else suffer with that? Is it a suffering? I don't think it's a suffering. I just think it's part of my personality and I kind of love it a little bit. And that's okay to love me. It's okay for me to love me. It's okay for you to love you. And now I've completely forgotten what we were talking about. So that's really good. Oh yes, being raw and unedited. It's actually something I was thinking about that I was kind of getting a bit down about on myself with my product business. So my product business is a jewelry and crystal business. I am an advanced crystal healer. I work with crystals and I make jewelry with crystals in. And we all end up in that little pile of self-comparison, don't we? Where we see what somebody else is doing. So I fell into the trap. I think it was yesterday, in fact, that I fell into the trap where the algorithm had thrown up a load of other jewelry makers into my feed. And I absolutely love that. I love seeing what other people are doing, but it made me feel a bit rubbish because I was looking at it and I was like, I wish that I had the capacity to sit in one place and be able to make these cool make along videos. In fact, I created a reel that I'm going to be putting out that is a bit of a joke about this, because a lot of the time when I'm creating, it's late at night, so it's dark. It's sitting on my sofa. So it's not like that aesthetic, or it's sitting on the floor next to my son whilst he's eating his dinner. That's not very aesthetic, is it? Like, you don't want to see, well, my perception is that you don't want to see me sitting on the floor creating jewelry with an under the sea mat under my butt, you know? But I made a reel that made a bit of a joke out of this. And we have a bit of a standing joke in the collective, in the Let's Grow group. And we call it #crotch jewelry. Because one of the things that I said to them was, I was like, I really struggle with this because I would love to do these videos. And we've all been talking about the struggles of kind of filming ourselves whilst we're doing creating, because when you're creating, you tend to hyper focus and you forget that you need to do all these things to record and blah, blah, blah. Get all your different filming angles and stuff, or even turn your phone on to do the filming in the first place. And I said that one of the things I really struggle with is that I often work on my lap. So I don't think people really want to see a video of me making jewelry on my crotch. So we now have a bit of a running joke about crotch jewelry. And they actually said that I should do this because it's quite funny, and that it could really, really work. And they were just like, but your whole thing is about highlighting these things, and it is about being honest and kind of drawing back the curtain a little bit on the reality of working your passion business from home, the reality of being a mum and trying to run a business, the all the realities of those things, and normalizing it for people. And I thought, yeah, actually, that is exactly it. That is part of my branding, is this raw, unedited way of doing things. And that's not to say that the absolutely gorgeous curated videos that we see are not just absolutely beautiful, wonderful, out of this world, amazing. It's just not something that I can do or achieve right now. I would love to be able to do it in the future, and I do like to be able to do them every now and then. If you follow me on Instagram, or you've seen the occasional short that I remember to put up on YouTube, you will see that I do have videos that are like that, but they're a bit kind of far and few between. And the greatest thing that I could do for myself was to accept that. And that is one of the reasons why I actively decided that this podcast was going to be as unedited and raw as I could possibly keep it. Because I need to stay true to me, and I need to make sure that I continue to communicate with you guys, my beautiful community, in the way that is truly just me, just being as authentic as I possibly can be. And I'm not sure I've got much more to say on that. How can you do that in your business? Do you have certain things that you struggle with that's like that? Do you think that maybe you could start to kind of to communicate those struggles a little bit? I think there's a lot to just being kind of as human as possible. Like, isn't that how you be relatable? By just being you, not by trying to be relatable? I don't know. Tell me what you think. I would really, really love to know how you bring that into your passion business, or if you don't already and you feel like it's holding you back, because that's the big thing, isn't it? Is that all those types of things can really cause you to hold yourself back. And that is not the aim of the game. The aim of the game is for you to have a passion business that means that you get to have the life that you really, really want. And I don't mean like the 6-figure laptop by the poolside, which BTW, I do not understand that. Don't put your electronics near water. I mean, have a life where you can pay your bills. Have a business where you can do what you want to do, where you are in control. And you can live the life that you actually want to, rather than the life that people tell you that you want to live. How can you do that? How can you achieve that? How can you make sure that you are able to show up as you? Let me know. I would love to know. Anyway, I very nearly apologized for rambling then. Oh, pulled myself up. I very nearly did it. So I'm not going to apologize for rambling, but I do feel like this one was a little bit more all over the place. Okay, I'm going to go. Have a truly wonderful day. Find those glimmers, hold on to them, pull them into yourself, and remember to save them for later. And I will see you in the next episode of this podcast. Goodbye.